Lemonada.
Today's episode is brought to you by Jevity. If you've ever had blood work come back fine, but still felt like something was off, this might sound familiar. What stood out to me about Jevity is that they go beyond a standard annual physical.
It's an all-in-one precision health membership that goes beyond the results. You get comprehensive testing plus a dedicated 3-person care team, including a longevity specialist, to help you understand what your body is telling you and build a personalized protocol. That's what makes Jevity different. Most companies give you pages of lab results and leave you to figure them out yourself. Jevity helps you put that information into action with personalized supplement packs, access to hormone optimization, peptides, and ongoing support, all in one membership. Head to gojevity.com/happier. That's GOGEVITI.com and use code HAPPIER to get 20% off your membership. One more time, that's gojevity.com/happier, code HAPPIER for 20% off. Jevity services are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Results may vary.
You can focus on exercise, nutrition, all the things you're supposed to do for your health, but if you are not sleeping well, it is very hard to feel refreshed.
Especially when you wake up overheated in the middle of the night, that completely affects my sleep, which is why I love the ChiliPad 2.0 by Sleep Me. It is a water-based mattress topper that controls your sleep temperature and works with your existing mattress. And if one person sleeps hot and the other sleeps cold, and that's Adam and me, each side can have its own temperature setting, which is amazing.
Yeah, and I also love that it automatically starts when you get into bed, so it feels seamless. Visit www.sleep.me/Gretchen to get up to $255 off your ChiliPad 2.0 with code Gretchen. This special offer is available for Happier listeners and only for a limited time. Order it today with free shipping and try it out for 30 days. You can return it for free if you don't like it with their sleep trial. Visit www.sleep.me/Gretchen and see why cold sleep is your ultimate ally in performance and recovery. Hello and welcome to Happier, a podcast that gives you ideas for how to be happier. This week, we'll talk about why, if you're not a sports fan already, you might consider trying to become one. And we have some listener suggestions about dealing with people who want to give every detail about their latest travels. I'm Gretchen Rubin, a writer who studies happiness, good habits, and human nature. I'm in my hot little home office in New York City, and joining me today from Los Angeles is my sister, Elizabeth Kraft. And Elizabeth, it always makes me happy to talk to you.
That's me, Elizabeth Kraft, a TV writer and producer living in LA. And Gretch, I fear I was guilty of too many details about our walking trip in England that we took a couple of years ago. I imagine I went on too much about the detail.
It's one of those things where we've all done it.
Yes.
But it's good to think about the people on the other side. But before we jump in, we have an update from a listener.
Yes, Mary says, I just finished your episode about worry and have something that may help other listeners. I'm a retired birth doula, and often pregnant clients would ruminate about something during the middle of the night. Because of the nature of birth work, my phone and texts were always on. I asked my clients who had non-urgent questions or thoughts to email me during off hours, 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. This got whatever was on their mind a place to go. I needed to use this for myself recently and wanted to share it with you and other listeners. My dad is 90 and went into the hospital for scheduled surgery after a fall. I was with him in the hospital for surgery and stayed through the night or two that was expected. The surgery went well, but he had a stroke early the next morning. I desperately wanted to call my husband, but there was nothing he could do as we live 6 hours away. I also felt the need to document what had transpired, so I wrote an email to my husband, brother, and sister-in-law. We ended up in the hospital and rehab for 4 weeks, and I continued to use email as a way to document the events of the day and a brain dump to help me unload before trying to sleep. There's no good sleep in the hospital.
Well, this is interesting. And I think Mary is using, if I'm reading her correctly, she's using email as something that people won't feel like they will read immediately and act on. Like you might do that with a text. So she's using email as somebody can get to it when they get to it, but she gets it off of her mind right away. So I think that's great, where you feel like you're reaching out to somebody, but in a way where you're not immediately asking them to take action.
Yes. And you can also always schedule texts and emails as well.
Yes. I use delay delivery both in text and in email all the time because I agree. I like to get it out. There is something very freeing in the mind about getting it out.
Yeah.
And reminder for you rebels out there or people who deal with rebels in work and in life, I have a special call. I love thinking about the 4 tendencies and learning more about the 4 tendencies framework. And again, if you don't know what a rebel is or an upholder or a questioner or an obliger, you can go to GretchenRubin.com, take the quiz, find out what you are, learn a ton. But I want to do a deep dive on rebels. And so I really want to hear what works for rebels, whether it's dealing with yourself as a rebel or dealing with a person who is a rebel, because I feel like they're often misunderstood. And because of that, people aren't communicating with them effectively, or sometimes they're not good at figuring out how to manage themselves. And so rebels, I want all things rebel. So send them my way, podcast@GretchenRubin.com. And then Elizabeth, we have a huge milestone coming up.
Yes, our 600th episode, Gretchen. I mean,
unbelievable.
Wow, I cannot believe it.
Who would have ever thought, right?
Yes.
So for the 600th episode, we would love to highlight what has stuck with people the most. What have you really tried that's worked for you? What have you learned? What has resonated the most? Because sometimes it's almost throwaway things or things that we didn't understand were big ideas when we talked about them. Or then sometimes we understood they were big ideas because we knew they resonated with people, but we like knowing that.
Yeah.
What works in people's actual lives.
Yes, I love hearing it because it'll remind me of things we talked about that have impacted me or that I want to kind of recommit to.
Yeah.
Love it.
There's things like the 1 minute rule where it works, but only as long as you do it. You have to remember to do it. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
This week, our Try This at Home suggestion is inspired by my experience. And the suggestion is, if you are not a sports fan, consider trying to become one.
Okay, Gretch. So many people, of course, sports is their life. They love it.
Yeah.
But there are those of us who have never seen an entire football game.
Yes.
Tell us what inspired you to become a sports fan. I've been watching this journey from afar, and it's been fascinating to me.
Yes. And I've talked about it a few times, but it's been so life-changing. I want to go into it. So for Project Empty Nest, of course, I was thinking about ways to make my life bigger, have an atmosphere of growth in the empty nest transition. As part of his own empty nest transition, my husband, Jamie, who's always been a lifelong Knicks fan, a friend of his approached him and said, hey, do you want to split season tickets? And Jamie said, yeah, actually, that would be great. You know, because when we had kids at home, we would try to stay home.
Yeah.
But then we thought, you know, if you've got season tickets, you really want to go. So this was something he'd always wanted to do. And so here he was doing it. And he said to me, half joking, you know, you're going to have to learn to love the Knicks. And at first I was sort of like, no, I don't have to. And that's not me. And then I thought, no, this is actually great. I've always wanted to just see if I could decide to make myself be interested in something. Like, Elizabeth, if I said to you, I have decided to become interested in the Real Housewives, and I'm just going to go deep, and you're going to be my ambassador, and I'm going to do it. Could I do that? Could I make myself get interested in something? Because it was so important to Jamie, and he was a willing ambassador. And I do think it helps to have an ambassador if you're trying to enter into an interest. I just decided, okay, I'm going to get interested in the Knicks. And I started watching videos and I reacquainted myself with the rules and I learned about the players. And oh boy, I picked the right time to get interested in the Knicks because all of a sudden their fortunes changed and they were doing much better than anybody expected. There was a lot to follow. And it's been funny to me that really the whole country was so excited for the Knicks. And I said to Jamie, is it like this every year with the NBA championship? He's like, no, this is big because it'd been 53 years or whatever since they had last won. And there was this incredibly now legendary game, Game 4. And Elizabeth, I was there at that game. And Jamie said, for the rest of your life, you were going to be bragging to people, I was at Game 4. In 2026.
I mean, Gretchen, I was even watching that game because I was interested because you were interested and I knew you were caring about the Knicks now. So I started caring.
Yes.
And then that game, I think I kept texting you like,
you did.
Oh my gosh, this is unbearable.
Yeah. And you were like, what's happening there right now? And I'm like, no one is saying a word because they were so far back. They were 29 points back. It was a historic comeback. And I will just say it was not fun to watch because it was almost worse when you were like, oh, wow, they really might be able to turn around because the suspense was just I kept putting my face in my hands, and then Jamie's like, you're going to miss something. Come on, look. So anyway, they came back, and it was incredibly exciting, and everybody's been talking about it, and it's just been a huge, glorious thing for New York City. Everybody came together. But this got me interested in what does the research show about the connection between watching sports and health? And it turns out there's a lot of relationship between those two things. And there's a great article in Time Magazine, I'll put it in the show notes, called Why Watching Sports Makes People Happy. And it's all the things you think. It brings people together. It gives you something to talk about with a stranger. It gives you anticipation. It gives you a sense of learning and growth. If you attend live, that's even better because, we talk about that all the time. Going to things, buying tickets. It gives people a greater sense of life satisfaction and a lessened sense of loneliness because there is this feeling of connection to the other people who share your fandom. It's really powerful.
Now, are there downsides, Gretch?
Well, there are downsides. Well, first of all, what is the most obvious downside is the pain of loss.
Yes.
This is when people just are beside themselves with loss. And in fact, a friend of ours, he went to college with you, Elizabeth, and then I know him here in New York City, is Warren St. John. And he wrote a fascinating book called Rammer Jammer Yellowhammer that is about the psychology of fandom because he was such a huge fan himself. And he said, I wanted to understand why watching a football game on TV could leave me curled up in a ball in my bed. And so there's that. Sometimes you get the upside when they win, but then also what is your experience when they lose?
Right. And it also can be extremely time consuming, which in your case, you and Jamie are doing it together. So that's time you spend together, which definitely helps. I mean, it's not great to become a huge fan, I guess, on your own and then spend all this time on your own. It's nice to have that buddy, like you were saying, the ambassador.
Well, this is something interesting, Elizabeth, because I think that for some people, it can start to crowd out other things, going to things in person, seeing people, connecting with actual people, not just in your head, as a fan, but actually connecting with people, making time for other things in your life. I remember when I was in college, my roommate's boy, because, I was in a house with 3 other people, and my roommate's boyfriend said to me patronizingly, well, I wish I had time to read the way you do. And I said, well, you have plenty of time to read. You spend hours watching sports on TV. And he said, well, that doesn't count. And I was like, it does count, right? Yeah. It's an activity that you're doing with your leisure time. So I think at a certain point, it could start to crowd out other things that might make you happier overall. So it's just something to be aware of. Every medicine can become poison.
One thing I love about Adam is he loves watching sports, but he never prioritizes watching any kind of sport. I mean, unless it's something absolutely huge like the NBA Finals over going to dinner with me or something and Jack.
He would never say, oh, I got to stay home because the game is on.
No. But if he's home, he'll be watching sports. It'll be on. But this whole try this at home is making me think I should try to get into one of his sports. Yeah. I should ask him, because kind of they're all the same to me.
Yeah.
What would be the most fun for me to learn about? Yeah. Because I am interested. I like it when he tells me about different golfers. Yeah. For instance, I do find it fascinating to learn about the players. So I'm going to ask him.
Well, Adam and Jack both play golf, so that's good.
Yes.
But then maybe if you were interested in basketball, then you and I could be interested in basketball together. So that would be fun. There's a lot of options.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to ponder this.
But here's a funny thing. I was talking to somebody who's out on the dating market, right? And she was talking about this guy and how it hadn't worked out. And I said, why didn't it work out? And she said, well, he kept telling me how much he loves sports. But then I realized he just likes watching TV. He never played sports. And I was like, well, that's interesting. I think that somehow watching sports almost feels like doing sports. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is TV watching time. But it really is TV watching time. So I think you feel like you're getting credit. And of course, we're saying, oh, being a sports fan is great. So that it can bring all these other things, but it just in the right proportion so that you're getting the benefit and it's not taking you away from other things that are also important.
Well, Gretch, I have to say, I'm not worried about you losing yourself to basketball.
I think that is correct. So here's a few of my suggestions about whether you want to become a fan of something. And it doesn't have to be sports, right? We're talking about sports because sports is unique. You could be a fan of musicals. You could be a fan of impressionism. You could be a fan of bird watching. So here are some of my observations about doing this. First of all, do try to have an ambassador. Have somebody who can infect you with their enthusiasm and guide your way and answer obvious questions and just help usher you into the scene. Try to use it as a way to get closer to other people too, because everything is more valuable when it connects us to others. So go to things in real life, go with friends. I'm doing it as a way to grow closer to Jamie. And then also the friends that we're sharing the season tickets with. I've seen a lot of them too. Buy something that displays your enthusiasm. I have my Lucky Knicks sweatshirt and I love having it. Now, you don't want to let that just get you too carried away, but I think it's fun to have your Corgi Nation magnet or your Knicks sweatshirt or whatever.
Yeah.
But also, I think that it's important, at least it's been important for me, not to just let this be a passive thing, but really try to invest it with my time and my energy and my learning. Really do try to not just enjoy the spectacle of it, but really try to say, well, what about this? What about that? Listen to more sophisticated conversations about it because, the more you know, the more you notice.
Yeah.
The more you bring to it, the more you get from it. And I think for a while I was just kind of enjoying like the New York City spirit of it. And that was fun. But the more I got into the actual, okay, why are they putting this player in instead of that player? I'm still at such a naive level. I'm asking such basic questions, but I know enough to be curious. Why is Jose Alvarado going in now? What's the theory behind that? And so I'm learning. I'm at the beginning of my journey. Thank you to the Knicks for making it so fun. Definitely a fun time.
Yes.
So let us know if you do try this at home and how deciding to become a sports fan or really any kind of fan has worked for you. If you were starting pretty much from zero, the way I was, how did you make that shift? I think this is something that can add tremendously to life. It's that atmosphere of growth, Elizabeth.
Yes.
It's a new identity.
Absolutely.
It's a new purpose. It's a new way to structure your time. It's a new way to have anticipation. It's a new way to have adventure and novelty. Let us know on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook. Drop us an email at podcast@GretchenRubin.com. Or as always, you can go to the show notes. Go to happiercast.com.
Coming up, we've got a happiness hack to help you make decisions. But first, this break.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. We talk about mental health much more openly than we used to, but asking for help can still feel surprisingly difficult. In fact, BetterHelp's 2026 State of Stigma report surveyed 2,000 Americans and revealed that 85% of Americans believe getting support is wise, yet 74% say society discourages people from doing so. The gap is fascinating. We can believe something is helpful and still hesitate to take the step ourselves.
One way to close that gap is by normalizing conversations about mental health and encouraging people to seek support when they think it could help. BetterHelp has over 30,000 therapists and has served more than 6 million people globally. They also do the initial matching work for you using a short questionnaire to help identify your needs and preferences. Don't let stigma stand in the way of support. Start therapy with BetterHelp. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/Gretchen Rubin. That's betterhelp.com/Gretchen Rubin.
I always laugh when people say shopping is fun because honestly, to me, it just feels like another thing on the to-do list. Between work, family, travel, and everything else, I don't have the time to wander around stores trying to figure out what works. And that is why I love Daily Look. I just got a Daily Look box and it included a great summer top and a lightweight layer that I've already worn multiple times. With Daily Look, you get your own dedicated personal stylist to curate a box of clothes based on your body shape, preferences, and lifestyle.
What I love is that you can try on up to 12 premium pieces at home where you can actually see how things fit with your own shoes, accessories, and real life. It's time to get your own personal stylist with Daily Look. Head to dailylook.com to take your style quiz and use code HAPPIER for 50% off your first order. Once again, that's dailylook.com for 50% off, and make sure to use our promo code HAPPIER so they know we sent you. One last time, dailylook.com, promo code HAPPIER.
This episode is brought to you by Care Scout. One thing I've noticed is that life has a way of bringing new responsibilities when we least expect them. As our kids become more independent and our parents get older, many of us find ourselves trying to balance work, family, and figuring out the best way to support the people we love.
That's why Care Scout created the nation's first comprehensive aging care platform. Think of them as an expert partner to help your family find, fund, and plan for quality long-term care through a network of rigorously vetted providers, personalized nurse-led aging care plans, and guidance that helps older adults own their aging journey and live well on their own terms. You don't have to carry the burden alone. Bring clarity and confidence back to your family's journey. Go to carescout.com/happier today to discover a clear, bright path forward. carescout.com/happier. Okay, Gretch, we are back with this week's happiness hack.
Okay, so this is one that I realized that I really need to use in my own life, which is when making a decision, cross out the common denominator.
So explain that.
Okay. Sometimes you're deciding between an apple and an apple and an apple and an apple, and you're trying to figure out which one to choose. And I realize that sometimes I will feel like I can't make a decision, right? This is, do you need more time or do you need to make a decision? I will procrastinate about making a decision because I'll think about something like, well, maybe that's not going to work out. And the obvious example, and the one that it comes up every single time I do it, which is, if I book this flight, it might end up being the most inconvenient flight of the day. I might bitterly regret that I picked this flight instead of this flight. Why didn't I take the first flight out in the morning? Why didn't I take the mid-afternoon flight out when everything's quieter, whatever it is? And then I realized every single flight that I might take, that is true of. There is no way to know, looking forward, what the reality is. I cross it off. It's a common denominator. Every choice I have includes that. Something like, well, if I book this travel, well, maybe the weather will be really bad. Now, of course, you can say, like, is it likely to be rainy in England in April? You can look that up. But to a certain degree, you can only control so much for that. And sometimes you're in LA. Remember, Elizabeth, you had a party in LA, and it hasn't really rained hard in LA for years. But the day that I have an outdoor party, when was that? Well, you had that outdoor party, and it was like, okay, it's pouring rain. But you couldn't say, well, I can't pick a date for the party because it might rain. You don't know when it's going to rain. It's 2 months away.
Well, this comes up with me all the time because of work, because my work is very unpredictable.
Yes.
So planning ahead, I always think, well, what if something important is happening at this time? What if something important is happening at that time? And I can never know. And so Sarah and I have just decided we have to just make our travel plans or our vacation plans and just let it be what it is. And we always say, hey, worst case, we'll cancel.
Right. No, and I noticed that now when we're making plans, you and I, sometimes you'll say like, well, I'll just say subject to something really needing a huge amount of attention and work. And I'm like, we always just stipulate to that in the background that that could happen. When there's conditions of uncertainty like that, it's just this thing where you feel like if you wait, you'll have more information, but you really can't have more information beyond a certain point. So you just have to move forward.
Yeah.
This is just something I realize is a very bad mental habit that I have.
Yeah. And I think it's that anxiety of making decisions.
Yes.
And so we put in all sorts of reasons not to make the decision.
Yes.
Which leads to more anxiety.
Yes. And my whole thing is also, I need to consult with somebody. It's like, I don't need to consult with anybody. This is my decision to make. Yeah. But anyway, cross off the common denominator. But now we have some listener suggestions about what to do if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed by people's desire to tell you every detail about travel. And I have to say, Elizabeth, I do feel sour that I raised this because it's like, is it so hard to just listen to somebody's heartfelt talk about their travels? But I think that I'm not alone in this feeling because people had suggestions, which make me think that they've thought about this themselves.
Yes. It's funny, Gretchen, to think back in the day, people would have a dinner party and show slides from their travels. Remember, that was a whole entertaining subgenre.
Yes, that's true.
You wouldn't have enjoyed that.
No.
Okay, Jess said, because people sharing travel ideas with you are probably listing a lot of names and locations, you could gently interrupt them, tell them you are nervous you won't remember all the great suggestions, and request that they send you a text or an email with the information. That way, their itch to share is scratched, but you don't have to pretend to care while you listen. The email or text will be easy to ignore or reply to with a quick thanks, and everyone wins. Odds are they won't remember to send the information anyway. Hope this helps.
Well, I really like that because that says, oh, your information is very valuable.
I'm not sure if people won't catch on to what's happening, but Perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps. Or they feel like, oh yeah, I don't want to take the time to write it out. Jillian says, literally, I am writing this from a ferry from Cherbourg to Dublin. Ha! I have 2 suggestions for when you are trapped in travel chat. One is something my old boss used to do. Tell me 2 top experiences and why they were your favorites. That puts a limit on it for both of you. You'll know how much you have to endure. Second would be to turn your conversation into a quest instead of a jaunt. That's the secret of adulthood. A quest is more fun than a jaunt. Ask them something specific along the lines of your own interests, like paint me a portrait of your experience in the Tokyo tea house, or can you describe the most colorful place you went and what the colors were? Or is this a place my grown and flown daughters and I could enjoy, or one that you would suggest for an empty nester or open doorer to go alone? Honestly, I feel so boring when I talk about dreams or travel and try to hustle it up, but I would love a little mini thought experiment that let me look at my recent memory through a different lens and describe it in a way that is more engaging for my listener. And you can get fodder for your next book. Well, I think that's a great suggestion because both of them are about directing the conversation in a way so that I could honestly be interested in it. I think that is the secret, which is if you can make it honestly interesting, then it's a good conversation. It's just that when one person's enjoying it and one person is not, that's when you have the problem. So I think both of these suggestions are really strong.
What she's saying does bring about more connection between you and the other person because you're sharing something more meaningful.
Right.
So it has an advantage.
But also, I will say this, that if somebody tries to direct you that way, listen to them. One of the things I'm responding to is an unforgettable conversation I had with somebody where I just would try to direct her and she just would not be directed. I was like, well, you know, I'm really not a foodie, so food's not my thing. And she's like, okay, but let me tell you about this great restaurant.
Right.
I'm telling you I'm not a foodie. That's not interesting to me. Whereas if she was like, oh, we went to this amazing museum that nobody's ever heard of, I would have been like, oh, I love an off the beaten path museum. What's that? So if somebody's trying to gently direct you, allow yourself to be directed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jackie says, we have friends who can recap a trip in a concise manner, which we so enjoy. Others give so many in-depth details, you become uninterested fairly quickly. I have tried to ask questions, control the narrative. What are the top 3 must-see sites? Which museum did you find most interesting? What did you find fascinating about the country's culture or the city's architecture? Have your questions be concise. Never ask, what was your favorite? Because so many people will respond, everything was my favorite, and start rattling off their daily itinerary. Yes. If you ask questions, you sound interested and hopefully can avoid listening to stories that don't interest you at all.
Yeah. These are all great suggestions.
Yes.
And now I can't wait for somebody to come at me with their lengthy travel conversation to see what I can turn it into. So thank you, everyone. That's great.
And now, Gretchen, we have a listener question.
Ashley says, over the last year or so, I have been binging the podcast from the beginning, and I have just gotten to January 2020. Well, Ashley, that's great. We love our completists.
Yes,
we love people who start from the beginning and go forward. She said, but okay, January 2020, that's significant. She said, I know what's coming, the craziness of COVID, but you two don't. And I've suddenly hit a wall. I can't make myself listen to the 20 for 2020. That's episode 255, list episode. I'm not sure what's going on here, but I'm thinking it's just a resistance to revisiting that time. What do you think I should do? Should I skip forward? If so, how far? I am a completist, so the idea of skipping bothers me, but I miss listening to the show, and I would rather have a little blip in the timeline than miss out on happier. Listening to you both is a bright spot at work. Well, first of all, Ashley, thank you so much. It's great to hear that you're enjoying it so much. But I know what you mean about not wanting to go back to that time. And so I say just skip forward. Right?
Yes. I mean, when did things semi get back to normal? Certainly, she could skip all of 2020.
Yeah.
And maybe half of 2021.
Yeah, and just pick back up. And the thing is now, like, I mean, we're coming up on our 600th episode. Plus now we have the mores. We've started doing the mores, so we have all our mores.
Yes.
There's a lot of material there. Yeah, skip ahead a year. Listen for a little bit, see if you like where we are. If you're like, no, don't want to do that, just skip ahead again another 6 months. We both know that desire to be completists, but we hereby say to you, this is a force majeure. You can still consider you're a completist if you just skip that section. We'll just consider that section like special listening at this point so that you can say, okay, I'm a completist except for this one special part that they did, which now is in a
Yes.
special category.
I get it.
I have a podcast that I listen to, and I actually find it really interesting to hear them talk about it in real time. But I can imagine not being interested in hearing them talk about it in real time and not being interested in hearing us talk about it in real time.
Well, I always think like that is so bonkers that we went through that as a country together. I can't believe that happened.
I was at a Kidlit group last night and we were talking about the same thing. We were just like, wow, did that actually happen to us?
Yeah.
We lived through that.
Yeah. I'm always saying to Jack, like, you have no idea how unlike anything that we've ever experienced that was.
Yeah. It is something that many people do not choose to revisit. So we get it, Ashley.
Skip ahead.
Yes. And we give you a gold star for your enthusiasm, certainly.
Coming up, I give myself an errand demerit, but first, this break.
I've been trying to say yes more to little adventures. Nothing huge, just getting out of the routine and going somewhere different for the day. And it really makes you appreciate having a car that feels solid and comfortable, where you're not thinking about the drive, you're just focused on where you're going. That's what stood out to me about the Defender. It has that rugged design, but it also feels really thoughtful inside. And I like that there's a full lineup, from the 2-door 90 to the 110 and the 130 with seating for up to 8. So it really fits different kinds of plans.
And it's built with those durable, purposeful materials so you can actually use it without worrying about every little thing. It also has features that make driving feel easier, like ClearSight technology and the Pivot Pro system, so you can keep track of where you're going and everything you want to listen to along the way. Plus, with up to 89 cubic feet of cargo space and available 3 rows, it gives you a lot of flexibility depending on what you're bringing with you. Explore the full Defender lineup at LandRoverUSA.com.
One thing I've learned about summer dressing is that the pieces you love most are usually the simplest ones, the things you reach for again and again because they're comfortable, versatile, and always seem to work. That's why we keep coming back to Quince. I've been especially loving their European linen pieces. They're lightweight, easy to wear, and somehow look polished without requiring any effort.
Quince makes elevated essentials using premium materials like European linen, organic cotton, and washable silk, but without the traditional markup. Their linen pants, dresses, and tops start at just $32, and their soft denim and organic cotton sweaters are perfect for cooler summer evenings. I also love their 14-karat gold jewelry, simple pieces that instantly pull an outfit together. Make your summer wardrobe feel easier. Go to quince.com/Gretchen for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/Gretchen for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Gretchen.
This message comes from Harvard Business School Executive Education. Now is the time to invest in yourself and change the world with your voice. Our programs connect you with faculty at the forefront of their fields, introduce you to a global network of leaders, and help you step into your full potential. The next chapter is yours. Let us help you write it. Apply today to accelerate your future. Learn more at hbs.me/accelerate. That's hbs.me/accelerate. Okay, Elizabeth, it's time for Demerits and Gold Stars, and this is an even-numbered episode, and that means it's your turn to talk about a demerit.
Yes. So, Gretchen, I bet this is something many, many listeners will relate to, which is I didn't return something in a timely fashion, and then it was too late.
We've all done it.
Yep.
Got to do those returns right away, or what happened?
What happened? Well, I was buying an off-white t-shirt for my Off-White Delight, ordering it, and on a whim, I don't know why, it's so unlike me, I also ordered this light pink t-shirt. I never wear light pink to begin with, but I don't know, it just looks so luscious. I just had to have it. But the light pink t-shirt is a new style for the company, and so it's a bit small. In other words, I've got my normal size, but it's a bit small. And then it's too late to return it. Now, I will tell you one reason why this happens, Gretchen, which you might relate to. I have this habit when I order something, if it's something I really wanted this great white t-shirt, I will wait to open it.
Oh.
Because I'm waiting to give myself a reward. And I might wait 2 weeks.
I don't do that at all. I open things that same day to get rid of the box. Well, that's so interesting because we always talk about getting a present in the mail.
Yeah.
So you're saving it up when you need a little bit of a lift.
Yes. And knowing it's there and I haven't opened it is like a little treat. And so I get more pleasure out of it the longer I wait.
Sure.
Which Adam's always like, are you going to open that? And I'm like, yes, I'm waiting till after I do this pitch on Wednesday. And that's going to be my reward, even though I know what it is.
Wait, can I just say, this is so interesting. This could almost be an accountability adjacent thing where it's like, I really want to open that box, but I can't do it unless I've gone to Orange Theory twice this week or something. I mean, because we're always looking for innovative accountability, especially for obligers. Well, I said I'm trying to find out more about Rebels, but I'm always trying to find new accountability things.
Yes.
So this is interesting. But for you, it's more, okay, this is the treat I'm going to give myself to look forward to after I get through this arduous thing. Then I'll get, I've never thought to do that. Fascinating.
Well, I do that, but then the issue is, like in this case, I waited too long. Now, I'm sure I opened it before the return period, but then you have a much shorter window.
Sure.
And so then it passed me by.
You don't realize. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is why I shouldn't order anything that I don't know my size, because returning is such a hassle. And there's nothing worse than like buying something and then not being able to return it if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Okay.
It is what it is.
But see, Elizabeth, I have to contemplate this. So listeners, if you do this too, how do you use this? How do you think about it? This reminds me of when I found out that people would fill their carts for fun and then abandon them, that was a thing people did for fun. I think that this is so fascinating. It's using delayed gratification to give yourself a little jolt of pleasure or a little bit of accountability. Interesting. Okay. I want to know more about that. Okay. We must discuss. Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
Now, how about you, Gretch? What is your gold star?
Okay. I want to give a gold star to an everyday item. I want to sing the praises of the everyday coaster. I just was thinking, I'd love a coaster. I have a very cool coaster that somebody gave me as a gift. It's right here on my desk right now. And every time I look at them, I think about them. And also it was tied to my Life in 5 Senses book because it looks like it would have a really strange bumpy texture, but it's actually smooth, almost like a trompe l'oeil. So it reminds me of Life in 5 Senses, which I had so much fun writing. Elizabeth, when we went on our amazing hiking trip, our leader, who we loved so much, Jeremy, as a memento of the trip, gave everybody 2 coasters. I love those 2 coasters.
Yes.
You gave me some really fancy living room coasters. I use those all the time. They make great gifts. They don't take up much space. They're perfectly suited to their purpose. I have one little job to do and I will do it faithfully. And I appreciate that about them.
Well, I love coasters as well. Probably it goes along with my love of mugs. Coasters are so necessary. Like you said, they have one job to do, but it's such a necessary job. Like if you don't have a coaster, you're really bumming out, Can
I just say, Eleanor still does. I'm just like, Eleanor, we're past this. I don't understand why this message, because she's always like, oh, I was just going to get one. I'm like, no, you were not. It's just sitting there on the counter. I mean, you were not on your way to get a coaster.
I have to shout out a couple of my favorite coasters. Okay. My friend Corrine gave me a set of coasters that are mug shots of Real Housewives.
Oh, those are on your treadmill desk. Yes. Your treadmill desk. You're like, oh, these are my special treadmill desk coasters. Yes. Oh, they're the mug shots. They're very, very funny.
Very funny. And then Sarah recently gave me some beautiful Mahjong coasters. So that is great. And I have nice coasters from when Ab and I got married that I love. And every time I use it, I think, oh, this is from when we got married. So I agree. Coasters are so great because they don't take up space.
Yeah.
They can be very personal or they can be very impersonal.
Right. They can be very classic. And I've never given coasters as a hostess gift or a housewarming gift, but this is making me think I should get coasters because you always need coasters. It's always nice to have a set of coasters. Okay. It's just one of those things where I was just like, I really appreciate a coaster. Does a coaster fit into the thing that's achieved its final and perfect form, like the tuxedo? But I think that they're too varied.
Right.
They're not specific enough.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, the resource for this week. If you are looking for a fun way to add more novelty to your summer, because we are in summer now, check out the new summer bingo card in the Happier app. People love the bingo card. They love to gamify. And this is filled with just very simple activities to help you try new things, make memories, enjoy the season. You can see if you can get bingo or maybe even get the whole card, which is quite attainable. Download the app at thehappierApp.com, and it's right there on the homepage. If you haven't done Design Your Summer yet, you can do it with the Happier app. Elizabeth, I know you're using the Happier app for your Design Your Summer, which is great.
Yes, I sure am.
So Elizabeth, what are we reading? What are you reading?
I'm reading There's Only One Sin in Hollywood by Rashid Newsom.
And I'm reading The Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater. And that's it for this episode of Happier. Remember to try this at home. Try becoming a fan. Let us know if you tried it and if it worked for you. What kind of fandom did you join?
Thank you to our executive producer, Chuck Reed, and everyone at Lemonada.
And here's your rhyming reminder. If the show sparks joy in your soul, nudge others to enroll.
Love it. Until next week, I'm Elizabeth Kraft.
And I'm Gretchen Rubin. Thanks for joining us. Onward and upward. So Elizabeth, it occurs to me that maybe I could wear that shirt. If it's too small for you and you can't return it, maybe I'll try it.
Yes, I'll bring it when I see you and we'll see if it works for you. It's very pretty.
I would love a pink t-shirt. That sounds great. I'll try it.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.